Wizards of the Coast seems intent of just strip mining Dungeons and Dragons, just taking it to its bare bones and removing any fun from the game and the settings that they've created over the years. It's just such a weird thing. Now, this one is actually not a political thing. It's just kind of sad and head scratchy that they'd remove this like silly thing that they've been doing as a decade-long tradition for this new edition of Dungeons and Dragons. I actually really enjoyed this aspect. I'm not a 5th edition fan by any stretch of the imagination, but this was a cute thing that they had going for it for every single volume so far, and I am happy to report about this for you guys so that you can see kind of what they're just removing again in an effort to just, like, I guess, make it serious business. Like, that seems to be the whole point, right, of everything, every move they're making. Well, we better make orcs serious because they're really black people and Mexicans, right? We better remove half elves and half orcs. That's racist. I don't understand that there. It's serious, though. It's very serious. We better change our monsters like hags and dryads because I know those were females before. That's sexist. We better have male fat hags and dryads. Yeah. We better turn succubus and incubus into some transgender and get rid of all the colonialism because that Gygax guy, that Gary Gygax guy was a colonialist and a misogynist and he approved of slavery. Yeah. I mean, it's just a bunch of angry people, obviously, at Wizards of the Coast who can't have fun. And that's why these new editions are not fun. They're just distilled. They're toned down. They're just strip mined of what the game once was, and it's really, really sad. We're going to get into what they did next. Yes, what a teaser for you guys. Hit the like and subscribe button. Join us here as we talk about all things D&D and, of course, all things fantasy out there. I'm a fantasy writer myself. I'd love for you to check out my 6-book series. It's called The Adventures of Baron von Monocle, and it's about an airship crew that goes out questing. They fight monsters. They end up embroiled in like a very heavy war. Book 3 gets pretty brutal. So I'd love for you to grab this. It builds so nicely over the series. You're going to love it. You've got steampunk knights. You've got some cool stuff that builds into magic later in the series. You've got evil emperors. You've got crazy monsters that I developed myself. You're going to really love this. Check it out. It's in the description below. It's available on ebook, print, and audio for you. Thank you guys so much for making this like a perennial bestseller. We've crushed it all because of readers like you, and I appreciate you for supporting my writing. It's awesome that people love independent works. So Dungeons & Dragons has mostly been in the news as of late for its woke content in recent months, but now Wizards of the Coast has revealed they've removed a fun, long-standing Easter egg joke from their 2025 Monster Manual and actually all the other new Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide as well, which will stop appearing in new volumes going forward as well. With the new edition of the fantasy role-playing game, they have already courted a lot of controversy with changes. If you don't know, they've added diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda to their core rulebooks. D&D players, as a result, have been watching their beloved role-playing game of questing and fighting monsters turned into a political cudgel and social conditioning tool by the Hasbro Corporation. Before the new Monster Manual controversy came out, a 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide infamously incorporated BDSM fetishes. It's one of my favorite AI images ever. You're supposed to make an X with your hands like this to signal to the DM that he must stop the game. And he must address your triggering concerns, or else, the game is over and it's no good because, you're triggered. And that is, there are literal safe space trigger warnings in the game now. On top of this, the 2024 Player's Handbook is filled with images of BIPOC and female characters. Diversity in Dragons, which is a great YouTube channel, actually did a count of all the pictures in there. It's like a 5-to-1 margin of these, diversity characters, which is weird because the game is 80% played by white males. So it's like they are doing the opposite of catering to their demographic. They're trying to find this modern audience. We already talked about the orcs, and this is the infamous Mexican orcs painting that everybody saw where, they didn't like that orcs were being treated as black people, so they turned them into Mexicans. My gosh. And I know that they've got Forgotten Realms coming up as a Netflix TV series. Oh my gosh, guys. It's going to be such a woke disaster. I can't believe it. I posted the other day saying, they're going to ruin the drow. And a lot of my D&D friends goes, come on, Wizards of the Coast ruined the drow a long time ago. And that's very, very true. It is. I don't know how much more Netflix can ruin Forgotten Realms at this point. But Netflix is Netflix, so I wouldn't count them out. Now, we know that senior designer Jason Tondreau tend to forward to a history book of Dungeons & Dragons where he actually called Gary Gygax misogynistic and accused him of cultural appropriation in the book. Elon Musk actually chimed in on that because of it and actually asked how much Hasbro cost because he thought about buying the company. And that brought all of this into mainstream attention last year, which is cool that D&D's brought into mainstream attention, but it shouldn't be brought to mainstream attention because of this reason. Absolutely crazy. So here we are. We got the new Monsters manual out, and people have started noticing they've made a change, which actually is on the copyright page of the books. Now, if you guys have followed 5th edition before, they had this fun thing in it. Like I said, I don't like the 5th edition rules so much, but this was a very fun aspect of it. The player's handbook had this. Disclaimer, Wizards of the Coast is not responsible for the consequence of splitting up the party, sticking appendages in the mouth of a leering green devil face, accepting a dinner invitation from bugbears, storming the feast hall of a hill giant steading, angering a dragon of any variety, or saying yes when the DM asks, "Are you really sure?" Very funny stuff right there. The monster manual had this. Disclaimer, any similarities between monsters depicted in this book and monsters that actually exist are purely coincidental. That goes double for mind flayers, which absolutely, utterly, and completely do not exist, nor do they secretly run the D&D team. We really need a disclaimer to tell you that. You shouldn't use your brain to consider such irrational thoughts. They only make the mind cluttered, confused, unpleasantly chewy. The good brain is nice, tender, and barely used. Go ahead, put this book down and watch some reality TV or internet cat videos. They're really funny these days. You won't regret it. We say this only because we love you and your juicy, succulent gamer brain. Dungeon Master's Guide said, disclaimer, Wizards of the Coast does not officially endorse the following tactics. First, always keep a straight face and say okay, no matter how ludicrous or doomed the player's plan of action is. Second, no matter what happens, pretend that you intended all along for everything to unfold the way it did. Third, if you're not sure what to do next, feign illness and then end the session early and plot your next move. When all else fails, roll a bunch of dice behind your screen, study them for a moment, and look deep with concern and mixed regret. Let loose a heavy sigh, and announce that Tiamat swoops from the sky and attacks. So these disclaimers were in every single book that Wizards of the Coast was putting out, starting with the 2014 edition of 5e. And, like I said, not a big fan of that, but like they kept these going and they kept these gags going that were, they would be thematic to the book that came out. And that's really fun. This is fun stuff. And I got to give them kudos for like having something fun in the game that they kept going all the way through their 2023 books, which they actually did. Now, the new edition, these player handbooks, they removed it. And it was confirmed that we're not doing this anymore. By lead designer Jeremy Crawford. He just said, yeah, they're not doing it anymore. They're not putting them out anymore. And so again, they just took something that was kind of fun that, not a lot of people might have even seen it because it's in the copyright page. But the people who did, the people who knew, got an inside joke, got a lot of fun out of something, got some enjoyment out of just not having a serious game. And look, I don't know about you, but at my table and all that, we have a lot of fun. There's lots of jokes. There's lots of silliness when we play tabletop games. And it's always been that way. And it's always been hilarious. That's part of the fun of Dungeons and Dragons and other games like this, is you get to do some silly things and you get to kind of have some laughs with some buddies. That is a time-honored tradition in this. Well, the laughter's gone now. The fun's gone now. It's all very serious business for very serious people. And it looks like the committee of this game, this is my AI image of the day, would look something like this. If Wizards of the Coast has a boardroom who's deciding what gets to be in D&D anymore and what gets left out of D&D, this is kind of what I imagine it looking like at the end of the day. Doesn't that sound fun? Don't you want to be harped on by these people? Yes. Well, all the fun has to be gone. Everything has to be distilled, and everything has to be woke these days. It's very, very sad to watch. All right, what do you think about this, guys? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Hit the like and subscribe button. Really appreciate you being here. And of course, check out my fantasy series. There's a lot of fun in this. There's a lot of silliness in this. I don't take myself too seriously. Enjoy for Steam and Country and the other 5 books in the series. It is awesome stuff. Get it on ebook, print, and audio in the description. And thank you for being here.